joining this rally were absolutely flabbergasted when on the 4th of March I heard the government would recommend a 1% pay increase for NHS staff for 2021-22. That was an utter slap in the face, a kick in the teeth, and it doesn't reflect the effort, the sacrifice, the commitment, dedication of NHS staff all throughout this pandemic and before in looking after us and making sure that we're all well. The time of clapping has stopped, and the government said it would honour and actually reward NHS workers for all what they've done throughout the pandemic. They praised NHS workers throughout this time, but what now? They've offered us an insulting 1% pay increase, and we're not going to stand for that. It's time that we reacted and showed people why we deserve a better increase. We know we deserve a better increase, and unite with the GMB and all our other trade union colleagues and sisters and brothers will fight for that. We're there for you, and we want to ensure that you get what you deserve. But we can't wait for it. We have to take it. And it's incumbent on us today, not just to spread this message amongst ourselves, but to go out and speak to the people we don't normally speak to tell them that they do deserve a pay rise. Because believe it or not, some of your colleagues, some of the people you work with don't feel they deserve that pay rise. But we've got to go out there and talk to some of those people that may not agree with us, that may not share our worldview, that may not support the same football team as us. But we've got to go out there and reach those people in the workplaces, in the labs, in the wards, in the messes, wherever we can, to talk to those people, to say, reach out, join with us. Together we can win this, and together we do deserve the pay rise that you deserve. We've also got to say that it can be afforded. You know, they try and say 1% is all that we can afford, but we know the government has invested over £350 billion in the pandemic. Some of that money has been wasted, for example, on the disastrous test and trace system, which is only bearing a bit of fruit now. So don't let them take that argument that we cannot afford it. If we give NHS staff a decent pay rise, a lot of the benefits of those pay rises will come back to us through the multiplier of NHS staff spending that extra money in their local shops, in their communities, and the people that matter around them. So don't let them take that. But I hope we'll have a fantastic rally tonight. We've got some excellent speakers. Some of them are people just like you working in our NHS. So thank you very much, and I hand over back to Rahana.
NHS staff are there for us all, for the unexpected, for the expected, and for the extraordinary.
From a young age, through working age and retirement, together NHS staff take great care of us when we need them. Frontline and behind the scenes, you may not always see them, but they are there.
All staff across the entire NHS has bonded together to provide the best possible care they can, as always, especially under the pressures of this pandemic and COVID-19.
Throughout austerity, our NHS staff effectively took a pay cut. The pandemic brought extraordinary times. They gave us their all. They give us their all when we need them.
They need to know how much we value them, because the government proposed pay doesn't. A 15% or £3,000 pay rise will value our NHS staff properly. Funds that will not go offshore but will be spent locally.
A substantial pay rise would raise morale, and staff would feel appreciated and valued for all the efforts and contributions they have made to the NHS.
A decent NHS pay rise will help rebuild a healthy economy too. We can afford it.
The cost of a decent pay rise for NHS staff will come back in economic benefits for all of us. For all the times NHS staff have helped you, your family and friends. For all the long and extra hours that NHS staff work. because they are amazing, because we value them and their skills, not only during the pandemic, but every year, for the moments in our lives when we need them to be there, or the times they saved us. Take a minute to be there for them, because right now our NHS staff need us.
Please email your MP. Thank you.
What a powerful message, and thank you so much, Colenso, for your very strong message this evening. The NHS Pay campaign is gathering great pace, but let me tell you this, we're not sitting around waiting for the government's offer. What we're doing is we are getting organised, and that's what tonight is all about. And that's why you're going to hear quite a lot of NHS workers talking about the campaign, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Holly Turner, who's a GMB rep, who's going to talk about the campaign on why NHS workers are saying no to the 1%. Over to you, Holly.
Thanks so much, Rahana. Yeah, as Rahana said, my name's Holly and I am a rep with GMB, and I'm also a CAMS nurse, and I've worked in CAMS for a long time, and I work with children with disabilities, and work for me is becoming increasingly difficult with unmanageable caseloads, and our referrals just continue to increase. And during my working week, I frequently, like so many NHS workers, just feel completely exhausted and stressed, and I really struggle sometimes to give my all to the children and families that I work with, and these families do deserve much, much better. As workers, we've been left trying to plug the recruitment crisis whilst not being paid properly, and even as we continue to give our all, we were just ignored again last year regarding pay, and now this government has added insult to injury and delayed our pay anniversary, which should have been in April. And why? We need to be demanding answers and asking these questions, and we need to be taking this situation really seriously, because if we don't force some change, our NHS is going to just continue becoming increasingly dangerous, and this is about safety and standards. And this is why NHS staff, supported by their trade unions, are fighting for pay justice, as safety is intrinsically linked to that. So it's so important that we're all here tonight. We've been beaten down for too long, and we've faced year on year of cuts, and we need to just say no more. I'm one of the founding members of the grassroots group NHS Workers Say No, and I, alongside 3 other female nurses, set up this group to stand up and say enough's enough. And we're at risk, our families are at risk, and so are our patients and communities. And the group essentially was born out of anger and frustration, and it's been incredible to watch it build across the UK. But a huge part of what we hope to achieve was to empower others to stand up and organise and agitate and demand better for us all. But we need to just continue with that building and growing, because building that power amongst us NHS workers is the only way that we can take on the corporate managers who are running our services, who are absolutely committed to privatisation, and we cannot let that happen, because what will happen to our patients will be very, very serious. And we know that the list of services available to our patients is already becoming extremely limited due to outsourcing. And for me, in my work, I battle this daily. But we know the fight. I'm a nurse, but it isn't just about nurses. It's about staff across the whole of the NHS, which includes so many jobs. I wouldn't even be able to list them before the end of this rally, as we all know. And we know we need to ensure that all of our colleagues across Agenda for Change are paid fairly, because it's critical to the running of our NHS. Because without every single one of us, our system would fail. So it's time this government begins to care for our carers, and there is absolutely no justification for our skilled and experienced workforce to be frequently working, like so many of us, 40 plus hours a week and taking on second jobs just to make ends meet. And on top of this, we know our already demoralised and exhausted workforce are frequently being expected to work unpaid extra hours to fill the gaps in staffing, and now we're having to wade through the backlog we're faced with post-pandemic. And we need to stand up and just say we will not allow this government to abuse the goodwill of staff to deal with the staffing deficit we're struggling with. And our investment in staffing, it's as much about patient safety as it is about the health of our workforce. So with NHS Workers Say No, with support of our trade unions, we've tried to offer workers the opportunity to connect with others across the country, find activists in their local area, form links with allies, and have that confidence to stand up and just say that we do not accept this. So also tonight, I just want to encourage everyone to get active in their union, as Rahana spoke about before, and don't just join, but step up and become a rep, because we need everybody to be active. I am a mum, I've got 2 small children, I have a heavy caseload at work, and I feel like if I can do it, you can too, and it is so important. And I do it because I want to work in an NHS that is safe for me and my colleagues and my patients, and I really want the families I support to have access to properly funded services that safeguard their well-being. And I feel like for as long as I've been nursing, I don't think they've really had that. And I'm a GMB rep, and I feel like the support and guidance I've had from the union, especially over the past year, has been immeasurable. And we've seen workers be supported in mobilising in their fight for pay justice. But to get us back to safety within our services, we need everyone's voice to be heard. So if you're a healthcare worker, please get involved. We know that next month is a really big month. We've got the pay review body recommendation coming in, which is why it's important to be building now. And just get started tomorrow. Contact your union, get some flyers, badges, start conversations with your colleagues about pay, get a poster up in the office, and just tell everyone how important this is, because the time is now, and together we can win, but we must just continue to build and spread our message. So next, after I've finished speaking, I'm really pleased to be able to introduce a video of a colleague, Stacey, who is a safeguarding administrator. And Stacey has recently joined GMB, and she had never been a member of a union before. So she's recorded this message for us to play tonight to say why she felt joining was so important.
I work within the safeguarding team for a mental health trust, and over the past year we have experienced a huge increase in mental health referrals and cases of abuse against our service users. The pandemic has been extremely busy for all NHS staff, with little to no rest between shifts and extra unpaid hours taking the forefront of our role in order to provide the care that we as NHS staff pride ourselves on. I joined GMB to have extra security within my role and get my voice heard about issues surrounding my work environment, such as equal opportunities for protected characteristics employees and fair pay for all NHS staff. I feel it's important to be part of a union because as a member with multiple protected characteristics, I want to feel equal within my role. And should I encounter any discriminatory issues or other potential grievances, I know I can discuss these with my union contact, and I know where I stand or what my next action should be. Additionally, being part of a union is important when discussing and advocating for fair pay for all NHS staff, because staff can use these unions as a platform to raise issues surrounding pay and stand together as one voice in the face of future pay challenges.
Thank you so much both to Holly and Stacey, and what great ambassadors they are for our NHS and our trade union. And we will not be bored of saying tonight, join a union, but more importantly, get active, like Holly and Stacey are saying. We're now going to move over to Northern Ireland, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Janet, who's a Unite rep, Community Practitioners and Health Visitors Association. Over to you, Janet.
Thank you so much. And can I just say how delighted I am to be here tonight amongst all my colleagues, my brothers, my sisters in the NHS fighting for justice. I'll introduce myself. My name is Janet Taylor, and I'm one of the lead reps in a trust. I work in the NHS in Northern Ireland, and my background is health visiting, of course, and I'm a public health nurse manager. I manage a very varied team of health visitors, school nurses, staff nurses, child health assistants, admin. Everyone's under pressure at the moment, and not least of all with the impact of COVID. Now, Northern Ireland, we had the first use, I think, of the word unprecedented, possibly in December 2019, in that we did go on strike. So how did we get there? Well, our government collapsed on the 16th of January 2017. We had no government. And the pay rise that was applied, the 6.5% over 3 years deal, this did not apply to Northern Ireland because we had no government to implement it. So we were being run by civil servants. And we attempted on many occasions to speak with them, engage with them, but it was a no-go. It was, you've got no government, sorry, we're not listening. So actually we sat whilst our colleagues, we had no pay parity for quite some time. And that 3-year deal of 6.5% did not apply to Northern Ireland. So we had to struggle and continue to deliver a service. This then, of course, aggravated a shortage of 2,800 nurses across Northern Ireland. We were not retaining staff. People had had enough. What was the point? We couldn't recruit. We couldn't recruit anyone to come to Northern Ireland. They weren't prepared to take a pay cut. So the anger grew, and it grew, and we really, something I would say is you're never so powerless as when you don't realise the power that you have. And the power that we have is within our unions. I sit on the Regional Industrial Sector Committee. I also sit on the National Industrial Sector Committee, and I'm also chair of the CPHVA Executive Committee. But I'm a very active member. But our risk was very supportive, and we took the decision, despite all of our attempts, we were getting nowhere. So we took the decision that we had to strike. We also have a very active community group. So we engaged with them because it was really important that not only our members and their families, of course, were on board. We needed to get the community behind us. So we engaged with our community activists and realised that the momentum and the support indeed was there. We personally went out and talked to staff. I sat in the joint negotiating forum. All of our other trade union colleagues were coming from the exact same place. So the momentum gathered. We knew that there was an appetite and that we had to do something. So we took the decision to go on strike in December 2019. I think it was possibly one of the coldest days I've ever known, but that didn't stop us. We were out on the gates. We were out on every site right across Northern Ireland. All of the unions in Northern Ireland, Unison, RCN, RCM, everybody was out. We did have the backing of our senior managers because, of course, you know, they too are in unions. So we had senior managers out in the picket line as well. We, of course, had to work through the derogation of duties, and all of that was worked through in a partnership fashion so that we would cover very essential services and not let our patients down. But we were out on strike, and at the very last minute, the government the civil servants tried to send a letter to say, oh, if the government, so we were used as leverage as well, but we didn't care at that point. We just needed to have pay parity and support. So at the last minute, then there was a letter sent by the government, who were not, of course, sitting in Stormont, to say, oh, let them have their pay rise. But I'm afraid the civil servants and the UK government said, I'm afraid, no, we're not stepping in, no government, no pay deal. So in a way, it was leverage, and it was used to get the government back in power in January 2020. But we were successful. It was an amazing event. It was so powerful to have all of our colleagues out together and a real sense of purpose. And actually, Harland and Wolff, one of our major industrial folk here in Northern Ireland, they also had been out on a long-term strike. Unite, GMB had supported them, and while we were in the picket line, they actually turned up to support us, and it was an amazing feeling of just togetherness, of purpose, and of trying to get some action. We were successful in our campaign. We had the support of the general public. Again, we had gathered that through our community union groups, and it was tremendous. We did get, but all we were fighting for was pay parity, the same as England, Wales and Scotland. And that was something that we hadn't had. And actually, in real terms, our pay had fallen by 15% over 8 years. You know, that is a slap in the face. People were just so angry, so frustrated. They just couldn't go on anymore. And, you know, I know we're waiting now for the pay review body. And I'm not hopeful, to be honest, that they're going to give us anything significant. And if the government can only give us 1%, it's simply not good enough. Our NH workers, throughout all of this pandemic, our community staff, I know the acute sector were very much focused, but throughout all of this, our community staff were also visiting, seeing their clients, working through it, wearing their PPE, also doing extra shifts in COVID centres as well. And the time for clapping is over. It is simply over. We don't need clapping. We need proper pay. 1% is simply insulting. We have to come together. The union is our only answer. It's the only way that we can actually deliver any sort of real change and increase the pay rise, because 1% isn't enough. And whilst everyone is working hard, and Colenso made the point very well, this ultimately goes back into our economy. This is about helping us to help others. They want to eat out to, help. How do they think anyone's going to do that if they don't have a proper salary, if we don't then regenerate that money back into society? The other aspect is they say, oh, well, we can't afford it. Well, boy, they can afford other things. They can afford to waste money on government projects. They can throw money to their cronies and, watch things fail, millions of pounds, and yet they cannot give a proper, decent working living wage to all of our staff, right from our bands, our lower bands, right the way through. It's absolutely appalling, and it's totally not acceptable. But I would say we must rally, we must come together. We have to, it can be done. I lived through it in Northern Ireland. Honestly, the feeling was amazing, and we all had a common purpose, and we delivered. But the appetite was there, and people must realise you're only powerless if you don't realise the power that you hold. The power we hold is, in fact, within our unions. So thank you very much, and I'm just so amazed to be part of this amazing union and joined with yourselves, GMB. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet. And we just want to send much solidarity and love to everybody across Northern Ireland. And thank you so much for joining us this evening. And Janet says it all, what we've managed to do through this NHS Pay 15 campaign is bring England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland together. And that's how we're going to win this battle against the government. Lola McAvoy, great to see you tonight. Preach it, sister. Well said. If not now, then when? If not you, then who? Absolutely, then who? It's going to be us. It is only up to us. And thank you so much for all the messages coming in. Good to see you, Clive Toombs. Great to have you on here. Helen O'Connor as well. Neil Forrest says, proud to work for the NHS. We won't give. Join us. United Health West Midlands, fight with us and let us show how strong we are. And I think that's the key thing here is we are uniting workers around this campaign. And some of the other unions are still sitting on the fence a little bit, but hopefully they will join us as well. Because back in 2014, the reason we managed to pull out the biggest strike action since the 70s is we did unite all of the trade unions, and hopefully we will behind this campaign. I'm going to now move on to the Northwest and introduce you to Paul Turner, who's one of our ambulance paramedics for Northwest Ambulance Service. Over to you, Paul.
Hello, thank you, Rahana, and thank you for introducing me. My name's Paul Turner. I'm a paramedic over in the Northwest, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here tonight to give you some of my take on what's been going on in the NHS, and really to justify or try and explain why the NHS staff deserve such a pay rise. Well, the most common thing I hear is that we've all suffered through the pandemic without any pay rises. Some people have lost their jobs. And that is correct. But the NHS staff can always, and when I say always, take the brunt of that. We did this previously when the bankers spent lots of money and the Tory government bailed them out. Once again, our NHS staff didn't get a real term pay rise. And that's all we're asking for. Looking at the statistics over the number of years, NHS staff have lost tens of thousands of pounds. And that money would have gone back into the economy. So it's not you just giving the NHS staff money, it's being able to recirculate that money as well. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was looking at the pay review body, and this is why we now all need to be in a trade union. Obviously, I would say the GMB, but we've got our Unite here with us tonight. Great to have you with us. And hopefully the rest of the unions will join us, because as Rahan has already said, and my colleagues and brothers and sisters on here tonight, the more that are in a trade union, the more voice we've got. And that is the critical bit. If you're not in a union, join a union, because they're the ones that will help us through this process. Again, when we look at the amounts of percentages that we're requesting, I think it's reasonable. I really do. I think it's a reasonable request to try and draw back some of the money that we've lost over the years. And let's not forget that the pay review body, not many years ago, advised the government that the NHS staff should get a pay rise. That particular year, they only awarded us 1 or 2% to my record. But when they said that they deserved a pay rise, the government MPs, they absolutely supported it and took a significant pay rise, significant, well above what some of my colleagues are on in the NHS. Not all NHS staff are on these gold-plated salaries that people think. We're not on those salaries. You know, I've got young kids. You know, it's very difficult sometimes with the stress of work, the workload that we're under. You know, I turn up to work and you're lucky sometimes if you've got anyone to work with, or there's vehicles down, so people are off sick with stress, anxiety problem, the pressure's now getting on top of us. We are absolutely exhausted. And it's not just because of the pandemic. I hear people say the pandemic's hit us hard. It has, but this austerity has been going on for such a long time now. We need to hold this government to account, and they need to support us. Really do need to support us. So for me, anyone in the NHS who's not in a union, join one, get behind us and support this pay campaign. And lastly from me, you know, I'm really pleased that we've got such a great following on social media supporting us all the way through this pay review body. Thank you very much, and it's a good night from me.
NHS staff have faced one of the most challenging years in the history of the health service. We've gone above and beyond throughout the pandemic, and it's not over yet. And despite everything we've done and continue to do, and despite a decade of pay cuts for all of us across the NHS, all ministers have recommended is another below inflation pay increase. It's not good enough. We won't be fooled. We know 1% is no pay rise at all. GMB is demanding pay justice for every worker in the NHS. Get involved in the campaign today. Let's win a proper pay rise together.
And that's what tonight is about, is how we pull together, organise and let's win pay justice. I have to say our NHS campaign has had support from across the country, and it's great to see so many people in the comment box sharing their experience as well. We want to do a special shout out to our NHS workers in Scotland who are awaiting the announcement of their union's pay ballots tomorrow. And so fingers crossed for that. And we're going to now move over to Wales, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Stephanie Wilkins, Unite Rep for Public Health Wales. Over to you, Steph.
Hi, thanks, and thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. So my name's Steph Wilkins. I work for Public Health Wales, and I'm a biomedical scientist. I'm a Unite Rep and branch secretary, etc., etc. So some good news from Wales that we're coming from off the back of our recent elections. So luckily we've got a Labour government for another 5 years, so it's a massive celebration. And some good news, not linked directly to the sort of pay claim, is that we have in Wales been awarded a £735 bonus in recognition of our work during the COVID period. But you know, that's just an acknowledgement of that bit of work, but we still need a significant pay rise. So you know, I call on the Welsh Government to give us that substantial pay rise to cover the real terms pay loss that we've had over the years. But noting that the Welsh Government sort of limited by the arbitrary Barnett formula, so they do have to work within that remit. So I just call on them to pay us what they can, and I'm sure they'll be listening to us tonight. So it's a big relief that the NHS is safe from the Tories for another 5 years. And here in Wales, we've been organising some campaigns for the local campaign for the 1% NHS Pay campaign. We've organised leaflet drops and cards, and we've had great support from Unite organisers to do that. We submitted those and did some local campaigning. So yes.
I think we've had a slight connection area from Wales. If we can bring Stephanie back, we will. If not, I just want to do a big shout out. Martha says not only our NHS workforce are the best of the world, but they are the reason this country's war against COVID-19 has been won. We owe them a lot. They need and deserve a pay package that reflect them all. Dawn Lovett, great to see you. She's saying well done, Wales. And lots of different shouts out from lots of different people. What we're going to do now is we do have some great MPs supporting our campaign, and that's something that we do need to get is politically much more active. And we've got a great message tonight from Olivia Blake MP, who's going to say a few words to us. Can we get that message?
Hi, I'm Olivia Blake. I'm the Member of Parliament for Sheffield Hallam. I'm really proud to be supporting the calls for a 15% pay rise for NHS workers. This isn't just about rewarding the incredible work of our NHS workers in the pandemic. This is about years and years of cuts, austerity, pay freezes, below inflation increases, which have meant that we need this restorative pay increase for key workers within our NHS. I've been really proud to be supporting NHS workers in my constituency and will continue to do so until we get the pay justice that you deserve. Now is the time to get organised, get active in your unions, speak to your colleagues and keep fighting.
Hi, my name's Graham Morris. I'm a Labour MP and I'm chair of the Unite group in Parliament. I'm a former NHS worker myself, and I'm sending this message of support and solidarity to our members in the health service who've earned a decent pay rise of 15%. It's a pay rise that the country can well afford. The 1% offered by the government is derisory, and it's an insult to NHS staff that have worked so hard before, during and after the pandemic. Clapping for NHS workers certainly doesn't pay the bills. As a former NHS worker myself, I worked in the pathology service, doing routine and urgent tests. I appreciate the importance of the work that's carried out by our members in the National Health Service. And indeed, all key workers that have kept our streets clean, that have delivered letters, that have kept shops open, the transport system running. These are all essential services for the public, and they all deserve a decent and proper pay rise in 2021. Can I just say that we can win this campaign if we stick together, if we show some solidarity and some strength of character. NHS workers' unions, including Unite the Union, are backing our members. If you're not in a union, join one, and every success in the campaign. It's a well-deserved and an important campaign, and you're deserving of the 15% pay rise.
Thanks, Olivia. Thanks, Graham. And I have to say, it's great to see Graham looking so well as well. And I just want to sort of like make a special mention for Graham, because Graham was a great supporter of our People's March for the NHS back in 2014 as well. And tonight's rally is all about hearing from our NHS staff. That's why it gives me great pleasure. And I know she's just literally finished her shift to introduce Holly Johnston, who's going to talk about the campaign in Sheffield and working with local community health groups. Thanks, Holly. And I know you've just finished shift, so welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. So my name is Holly Johnston. I'm a GMB rep and activist, a sister on a cancer ward in Sheffield, and part of NHS Workers Say No, campaigning for a 15% pay restoration for NHS workers. We know that NHS workers have had their real terms pay slashed by this government. Band 5 staff have seen a 20% reduction in their wages over the past decade. This is why we are involved with the nationwide pay campaign to seek justice. We're not asking for some untold riches. We are just demanding what's right and what's fair. I ask you to consider our colleagues in the lower bands, porters, healthcare assistants, admin staff. It is not an exaggeration to say that these workers have risked their lives by coming into work every day. A battle to stay alive in the workplace should not be followed by a battle to put food on the table and to make ends meet. Britain has the money to pay us fairly. We must fight to get the funding routed to the place it belongs, in the pockets of workers, not in offshore bank accounts. If there's money for private sector shareholders, then there's money for frontline workers. And if that fight means strike action, we owe it to ourselves, our patients, and our colleagues to be ready. Every day I've had conversations with other nurses, with other staff, with family members, friends, and contacts made across the trade union movement. I urge every one of you to do the same and to be as active as you can in your workplace and in your trade union. The starting point of actions in the pay campaign were the demonstrations held up and down the country by our grassroots organisation last summer. We had one in Sheffield, and from there we have built up links locally with MPs and party branches, Sheffield Save Our NHS, other public sector unionists and campaigners, the Trades Union Council and other campaign groups. In Sheffield, we have set up a cross-union NHS group so we can update each other on how our branches are doing in terms of being ballot ready and pushing for the pay campaign. GMB have been behind us all the way with the actions we have done in Sheffield. We've had several mini socially distanced protests outside Sheffield hospitals, banner drops on bridges and a procession of pay, to name a few. We have mapped the wards in Sheffield and sent out countless leaflets, badges and pens, and have a point of contact for the areas we've reached. We've recruited new members along the way as well, because they can see that we're out there fighting for pay justice. GMB have provided platforms for us pay activists, and this has really helped grow the campaign. Aside to the pay campaign, I've worked closely with our national officer in fighting for better safety at work. I've personally been massively affected by long COVID, and the true impact on our workforce of this occupational disease we are yet to see. We have made calls for there to be updated guidance on PPE based around the
I think we've lost Holly in Sheffield. We'll try and bring Holly back. This is what happens when you do a live Facebook. I just want to make the point that I just want to welcome GMB Banbury #1 branch. See you on the streets when it's safe to do so. 15% NHS pay, just as nice. Spot on, Stevie. We're going to move to our next speaker straight away. The brilliant Mark Boothroyd, Unite Rep at Guy's and St Thomas NHS Foundation Trust. Are you with us? Great. Over to you, Mark.
Hi, Rahana. Thank you, and thank you for everyone for joining us on this rally. I'm Mark Boothroyd. I'm an A&E nurse and branch secretary at Guy's and St Thomas Hospital. We had an absolutely horrendous time in the pandemic, as everyone did. At Guy's and St Thomas, we've got one of the largest ICUs in the country, with about 75 beds. During the pandemic, we tripled that to over 200, and staff were having to take 3 or 4 patients at a time, just to trying to keep the people who are worst affected by COVID alive. At the height of the second wave, we had over 450 COVID-19 inpatients in our hospital. That's half of our beds were taken up, and we were, really on the brink of being overwhelmed. It was only due to the hard work and sacrifices by NHS staff across the country that the NHS didn't collapse due to the pressure that was put on us. When the government announced that there was no pay rise last year, people were absolutely incensed. Our branch called a protest at a week's notice to march to Downing Street, which is just across the river from us, and we got thousands of NHS staff from across across London to join us. And this was a massive boost to the kind of fledgling NSN campaign. And then we had a really busy summer of protests every couple of weeks, demanding that the government give us a pay rise. What we really captured, our branch and our union reps really captured the mood, and we built a lot of organisation out of that energy, and mobilised a lot of people who'd never been on a protest before. We had new members and nurses running all over London, leafleting their local hospital, leafleting colleagues' hospitals to try and get people to turn out for protests. And it was amazing to see people who'd never done any political campaigning before get really involved in the fight. But then we sought to bring that kind of energy back into our union activism. We recruited a host of new reps, and we've now got the second most reps under 30 in all of the Unite Health branches across the UK, which we're very proud of, and we're intending to become the first. We also became much more well known in our hospital and took on a host of workplace issues, which we fought on, challenging rota changes, bullying managers, pushing for increases in bank pay, taking up the bread and butter issues that our NHS colleagues are facing. We recruited over 200 new members in the space of 3 months, and we held a host of other protests. The last one was on the 1st of April to mark the day when we should have had a pay rise if the government had been negotiating properly. And we had actually 6 hospitals across London held protests on that day. So we're still organising, still campaigning, and we're planning to mobilise for the July 3rd demonstration and get a big turnout from across London. Kind of what this shows is how the pay campaigning can translate into rebuilding union organisation. Just a couple of years ago, we only had 3 or 4 active Unite reps at Guy's and St Thomas. Now we've got over 20, and we're recruiting more all the time. I just say, we know we've got branches which don't have officers and don't have reps and don't have very good organisation, and I think we need to provide that. The structure and the organisation for members in those workplaces so they can build a really strong pay campaign and rebuild the workplace organisation so we can fight back against the constant barrage of cuts and privatisations that we're seeing. I really think, every region should choose 1 or 2 of their strongest branches and get them hosting like a monthly campaign meeting, invite every single member in the region to attend that meeting and get them active. You will find people will turn up. They might not be a rep now, but get them involved, get them campaigning, get them leafleting their workplace, get them mapping their ward, and out of this campaign we'll rebuild stronger trade union organisation, which we so desperately need to protect our NHS. And I think we have to start organising now because we've got a big challenge. We have to beat the 50% turnout threshold for strike action, and that's going to take a lot of organisation. I think we should be calling for an indicative ballot for strike action. Our NISC has voted for this, and I think we should do it. We should pile the pressure on the government, show them that NHS workers are willing to take strike action, that we can win ballots, and that we can win the pay rise that we so badly need and deserve after all our hard work and sacrifices.
Absolutely right, Mark, and that's what tonight is all about, is how we galvanise the support. So we're not just talking about being ballot ready, but we're also about being action ready. What we're going to do is just bring 2 of our colleagues back who we lost because there's a thunderstorm going across the country at the moment. So we're going to try and bring Steph back in from Wales first. Great, Steph, over to you.
I just want to say a little bit about why our staff deserve a decent pay rise. During COVID, we've had staff volunteering to fill rota slots at short notice. They've agreed new rotas to cover the COVID work. And that's a big detriment to their families, their family life. And yet they always step up and they always make sure the patients are getting their results. Staff have been redeployed into new roles, and that's been quite stressful for various reasons. And staff working 12-hour plus days regularly. I've seen it all. I could go on, but our staff deserve this. They always have deserved a decent pay rise. So get involved, like some of the other speakers have said. Get involved, speak to your local reps, and come together. And we can win if we come together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steph, and thanks everybody for bearing with us with some of the connection problems we've had. We understand Holly Johnston from Sheffield is going to come back to us. Holly? Great.
Hello, sorry about that thunderstorm. So I'll just pick up where I think I left off, and that's so aside to the pay campaign, we've worked closely with our national officer in fighting for better safety at work. I've personally been massively affected by long COVID, and the true impact on our workforce of this occupational disease we're yet to see. We have made calls for there to be updated guidance on PPE based around the science that's now available. And GMB have listened to their members and acted on it to make a difference to our safety on the front line and ultimately for the safety of our patients. I'd say take motions to your branches, to your groups, to your regions, and argue the case for action until we get the pay rises we need. Get involved in the pay campaign in your area, build locally and get active. Keep having those all-important conversations in your workplace, and together we can achieve pay justice. Also, please attend the NHS birthday rally on pay, privatisation and safety on the 3rd of July in your area. We all know that unions that fight are unions that grow. If we come out swinging and campaign hard, then GMB will grow and Unite will grow. This will give these two unions more industrial muscle for combating poor pay and poor conditions in other sectors. If we don't fight, then we've already lost. But if we do fight, we can win. We can win for the NHS. We can give confidence to other workers. We can push the Tory government into another U-turn and open the doors for other workers to improve their conditions. Thank you.
I'm going to bring in Rachel, but before we do that, I want to introduce a fantastic video, because what is also happening across the NHS is privatisation, and we've got to fight privatisation every step of the way, and that's why we're really proud of the campaign that we've led at Frimley NHS, and we're going to just show you a short video on that just now.
Hi, my name is Asha Allison. I'm GMB organizer and I'm responsible for Frimley Health NHS Foundation Trust.
Hi, my name is Tony.
My name is Anna.
Hi, I'm Jerry.
My name is Sarah.
My name is John.
My name is Anna.
I'm a GMB Union NHS workplace rep.
GMB members successfully ran a campaign to stop Frimley Health NHS Foundation Trust,
creating a wholly owned subsidiary for non-clinical staff at the trust,
saving over 1,000 jobs from being outsourced to the private sector.
GMB members organised, recruited colleagues and grew the union and took part in 2 days of strike action to let the employer know
that everyone wanted to stay as NHS workers.
The strength and the commandership from being in the union and taking action for what we believe
is, along with the clear determination every member showed to stop was and prevent me transferring out to our NHS, started with simply collectively standing up to say no, we deserve better.
We know if we want to finalise achieve pay justice, then once again we must remain steadfast in our own worth, even others criticising us for doing so, and not be afraid to fight for what is right. A 15% pay rise.
A 15% pay rise.
A 15% pay rise.
A 50% pay rise.
A 15% pay rise.
A 15% pay rise.
50% pay rise.
Only working together can NHS staff hope to win the pay rise you so richly deserve. So get involved, get recruiting, get organised, and let's make 50% a reality.
Brilliant, thank you. And just thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. I've been reading with your comments all your comments as we've been going on. But I'm just absolutely honoured to share this platform with so many fantastic NHS workers, ordinary members and activists who have just gone out there and taken control of this campaign. And that's what tonight is all about. You know, we've got to come together if we're going to win this. Every stage in this campaign has mattered, but none more so than right now. We're not going to sit and wait for the PRB report to come out and then for the government to decide what recommendation they want to make and the offer. We need to use this time now. We need to get out there, speak to everybody about this campaign. Every conversation matters, and every conversation in your workplace is what is going to win us this campaign. We have no time to waste. We have to get ballot ready. We have to get action ready. And for us to do that, it means us all uniting and coming together. So workers, you need to join unions if you're not already in them. And members, you need to get active within your unions. You know, speak to your branches, speak to your reps, speak to your colleagues, speak to your regional officers, speak to your national officers. We're all here and we all want to help. Get in touch with your local community health groups. They'll get people to your demos and your protests and help hand leaflets out for you. The important thing is we have the conversations now. We need to make sure that when the offer is made and the ballot papers land on people's doorsteps, that it is not a surprise, that they know what the campaign is, they know what their worth is, and they know that they need to vote. It is so crucial that when those ballot papers arrive, you have your say on pay. It's what you're in a union for. Now is the time to get involved and make sure you use that vote. One thing I just want to tell you to get involved with right away, and it's a really easy thing. It might not take a lot of effort, or you can put in as much of your spare time as you want. But on the birthday weekend of the NHS, Saturday the 3rd of July, Health Campaigns Together have come together with Keep Our NHS Public and NHS Workers Say No. GMB and Unite are proud to be supporting these locally. And what we'll be doing, there'll be a huge raft of protests and activities and campaigns and events going off right across all of the 4 countries. So it's local protest, but it's a national day of action. And you can see on the screen there, there's a new Facebook page that's been set up. So make sure you go onto that Facebook page, register that you're interested, because you'll be able to keep up with all the information and all the demos and protests and activities. Events are already being planned right from Cornwall up to Glasgow. They're going to be in town centres and city centres. They're going to be on the street. They're going to be in workplaces. They're going to be in your workplace. So that's what we're asking you to do. Get involved. Hook up with your local community campaigner. Speak to your union rep. Don't care what you do. Go out, put a sticker on a notice board, put a flyer in a member of the public's hand, ask a friend to join, just come along, get involved, take ownership for this campaign, because it is your campaign. We're here as much as you need us, but you've got to take control on this. So please, if I can't tell you to do anything else, get involved. And, this is what we're here for. And we're really, really looking forward to getting back out there on the campaign trail with you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And that's the call of action all the way through tonight's rally is, and we will never apologise by saying you've got nearly half of NHS workers not in a trade union. We've got to fight this, and we've got to fight it together. So join a union, get active in our union. And more importantly, you've heard from the brilliant reps tonight, Mark Boothroyd, Holly Johnston, the great work that's happening up and down the country. And so tonight is also about building solidarity. So I just want to do a big shout out to all the technical people that are bringing tonight together. Our very own Jack Slater, Joe Abel from the GMB team, and Nathan and the Unite Digital Assistants who are cross-posting on lots of different Facebook pages. Please do keep sharing, and then the feed is up once it's done. So please do share it with as many people as you possibly can. Now I'm going to bring Colenso back, and what we're going to do is a few quick questions and answers, just because there's been quite a lot of comments that have been put in the chat box, and I'm supposed to be asking you quite a few questions. But I think the first question that I want to ask you both is, obviously, we were waiting for the peer review body to table their recommendation. Does one of you just want to quickly talk about what you see happening in the next few weeks when that happens? Over to you first, Colenso, and then Rachel.
Well, as Rachel and so many other activists said already, we're not going to wait for the peer review body. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to build. Now is the time to talk to your colleagues. I ask all of you that are trade union members here tonight, just please, tomorrow when you go into work or the next time you go into work, do talk to one of your colleagues who may not be a trade union member about this, and say how important it is that they're aware of what's going on and realize their power. Because what a trade union is, a union isn't me, isn't Rachel, isn't Rohana, it's the people in the workplace. It's our reps, it's our members. We all together are the union, and together we're so powerful and we can change the world. And we've got to believe that to make other people believe that. And that's why we're in trade unions, and that's what we got to do.
Spot on. And Rachel, we were running out of time, so quick one. And while Rachel's doing her last bit on this, we want to put some key dates that we want to promote. Tomorrow is International Nurses Day. So, you know, we just want to sort of like send solidarity to all the nurses, not just across England, Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland, but across the globe. And then there's some great events that are taking place that you can see. Over to you, Rach.
Did you ask me a question?
Yeah, do you want to just sort of like do a bit of a rallying call and then we can close?
Yeah, so you know, as we've said tonight, you know, on what Colenso's just said, we're not waiting for the PRB report. You know, we'd like to think the government are going to do the right thing and make you a good offer, but we've got to be prepared regardless. Every member deserves a vote. You've all been campaigning on this. You've all worked hard, not just through the COVID pandemic efforts, but for the last 10 years, you've had below inflation pay cuts. Now is the time. So get involved. Make sure you're speaking to your colleagues, get them in the unions, and look out for your ballot papers. Vote, 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 vote is my final word.
Absolutely spot on. And it's all about getting ballot ready. And, you know, every minute is an organising opportunity. Every person is a potential activist. We are going to change the world on this one. We have to get paid justice. And I just want to thank everybody tonight. Everybody that joined the panel tonight, but more importantly to everybody that's viewing this across Facebook, YouTube Live, get involved, and we'll see you very, very soon. If not on the streets, back on the screens, or if not in your hospitals and ambulance stations. Take care, everybody. Solidarity.